Well, hey everybody, I'm Jan Erickson from Stepping Aside, and welcome to As Above, So Below, a rune and tarot divination for Monday, the 21st day of March, 2022. Well, I hope everybody had a good weekend. If you celebrated Ostara, I did not get outside. It was too cold, so I have still not buried my egg. I have it ready, but I haven't buried it yet. So I have to go out there and try to do that today if it gets a little bit warmer. But it was 21 when we got up yesterday morning, so I'm like, no, not doing it. But Ostara continues through today, and so it's like a 24-hour period. So anyhow, I'll finish it today. I didn't get a whole lot of shuffling done, so I'll do that while I chat a little bit here. All the stuff is up on the blog, and I forgot to post the stuff over on Medium, so I did that this morning before I started this. So that's up over there too. The Patreon post is up. The videos, of course, go up there as well, also on the blog, both on the side panel, and then I have a just a video page that you can always see the current one over there too if you want. But let's see, that should be enough, at least for now. Anyhow, let's take a look at the esoteric influences for today from the Esoteric Influences post for the week. And again, you can find, if you click on show more underneath the video here, you'll see a bunch of different links, and one of them goes to the website. And that's called Stepping Aside. The web address is imsteppingaside.com. And check all that out. There's 4 posts that go up, plus sometimes I do another one in the middle of the week. But right now, let's take a look at Monday, March 21st. We're looking at a 3 numerology, so creativity, mind, body, spirit balance, triplicities, expressions of the triple aspects of self. Rado is the Elder Futhark rune for today on the post, not necessarily for today's reading though. And that means soul journey, partnership, integration, harmony, process over the goal. The Geomancy rune is Albus, or sage, wisdom, and clarity. The sun's in Aries and the moon is in Scorpio, and Ostara ends today, as I said. And the planetary governance for work and magic today is the moon. The moon corresponds with Monday, governs Monday. So the rune Rado involves integration, whether with others or the integration between the soul and physical reality. It's expressed also by the blending of mind, body, and spirit suggested by today's 3 numerology. And for true clarity to be achieved, that comes from soul awareness impacting that integration. With the moon still in the 7th house of partnerships, you may find interactions with others are challenging today. You may also have difficulty trusting emotions, whether they be from others or they're your own, and you may benefit from stepping back to gain a different perspective. Remember that not everything you do guarantees a successful outcome. Timing may be a factor, as is a more pragmatic approach that favors self-restraint in service to a higher goal. There could be opportunities waiting that are ignored if you're too focused on a particular outcome, whereas remaining open to the ideas of others may lead to new experiences that benefit all. So that's the esoteric influences for today. Let me go ahead and get rid of that. Get that off the screen. So let's go ahead then, and we'll take let me get my keyboard out of the way, so I've got space to work on. Oop, I made the screen move there. Sorry. No, we're not having an earthquake. Although I guess they had one off the coast there by Fukushima. You know, I was in the 9.21 up in Alaska in 1964, so strong earthquake. We had moved from California, so it's not like, you know, my family wasn't used to earthquakes. My mother grew up in Southern California, so she was always used to earthquakes, but we'd never had any. She'd never been in anything like that either, and it was just nutty. It's like we were cut off from the rest of the world for like 3 weeks. There was no, you couldn't call out, couldn't call in. I mean, I'm sure the military could, you know, but not regular homes. All of that was just, we were just totally cut off. It was scary. Our families down, you know, outside of Alaska were just freaking out because they didn't know if the entire place was leveled. They had no idea because it was so bad. But anyway, little bit of trivia there. Here we have all ye's. Now, the interesting thing about all ye's, and the interesting thing about all Elder Futhark runes, is one of the things that people who work with runes do is they don't only just intone the name of each one, but they also assume the position, the physical position of them. So with this one, you would be raising your arms in supplication, like you would when you're drawing down the moon, or when you're just trying to draw down spirit into your awareness. But it means the elk or the elk sedge. It's protection. It's realistically, it's the bridge to consciousness in a way. Kind of like they talk about the Bifrost Bridge in Norse mythology, but really what that is, the Rainbow Bridge, what that is the bridge between higher self or soul and the physical expression of form. And so it gives you that kind of that pathway really for spirit to infuse your awareness. And it's also about divinity, higher consciousness, again, protection. When we talk about the elk sedge, that's those marshy grasses that you'll find elk moving about in and moose moving about in, since we're still on Alaska. And anyway, they really, you'll see them move because you'll see their horns. But if they don't have horns at that point that year, then they haven't started growing them out yet, then basically you might see the grasses move, but you might not see them. They hide so well. And so that's just the idea, I think, of Alyes, where you really protect yourself by higher awareness versus devolving into the ego. So that's basically the message behind Alyes. Let's take a look though, and we'll throw down the 4 elemental geomancy runes. We'll put them in the order of fire, air, water, and earth. Where's air? There's air. There's water. Well, we have Laetitia. And how Laetitia is comprised, you have the single dot on top followed by 3 dual dots. And so the single dot is really an active influence for fire in this case. And then the dual dots, they're all passive influences. So air, water, and earth are all passive influences today. If I can find the rune. Well, it's here somewhere. I don't know. Oh, here it is. Its complement is Tristisha, which would be upside down. But this is joy and happiness. Kind of portends good fortune. So I guess if, you could say, combining the two together, if we are living in higher self-awareness, if we are raising our frequency, raising our vibration by not focusing on the negative and not the egoic influences of life, then we're really living in both Alyes and in both and in Laetitia. So let's see though what maybe this is going to be a really, really positive reading today. We'll see. I don't know. The cards will have to tell us that though. So, like I said, I've been shuffling, and already, and my cards are getting better at that. I'm better able to do it on a table now without them flying all over the place. When you have a new deck, it can take months, especially if you're not working with it all day long. And I don't, not this particular one. I have other decks I work with when I'm not doing this, but this I save for the readings, and then once in a while I'll use them in a reading I put up on the blog or something, or over on Patreon. They're not great, but here they're still pretty slippery. But the cards themselves just are really slippery when you first get them. So especially if they're super shiny. The other one is more of a patina on it. It's more dull, and I like it really well. But I just decided I needed a new deck, and so I bought this one a couple months ago, and I really like it because it doesn't have any border to it, and plus they have some grayer types of blue that I like really well. So anyway, let's take a look at the cards. Enough of that. Well, we have 2 major arcana cards today, 2 soul archetype cards, and then we have, I think we had the 6 of Pentacles from last week. I think that's when we had it. We also have that starting things out. And I think that it doesn't really matter what order we put these in today. But I think that the soul archetype cards, the devil and the star, are going to give us some overall information for how to see this card. I used to read this card, and I said this the last time we had it. I used to read this card as shared abundance, and in a sense it is. But realistically, even though there's a level of harmony and shared purpose and compassion, empathy, assistance, maybe with the six. Six also indicates health. But again, could it be spiritual health? Because really, what do you see here? You see 6 coins, but they're not in balance. It's not like this one is down here or anything. Instead, he's got his in his left hand, he's got the scales, but it's behind him. So it's like I'm telling the truth, but fingers crossed that you believe it, and it's really not the truth, right? It's what it always reminds me of now. But initially, that I read it as shared abundance because I was trying to be positive. But then a while back, it occurred to me, based on the reading itself, that there's more to this than that. And realistically, what we have here is somebody of means, and he's giving some coins to the man with outstretched hands. This guy's got his hands outstretched or as well. But there's clearly a caste system or a class system happening here. He's not helping to elevate them, right? He's not helping them to live a better life. He's just giving them a few coins to maybe go get some food right then and there. But it's not anything. It's not like he's saying, "Hey, I've got work for you, and you want to come and work for me, and that way you'll have a steady paycheck coming in." Basically, there's none of that here. So it's really not. You have to ask yourself, what is he really doing? It might be temporary help, but it's nothing that's long term. There's no true benevolence here. There's no true benevolent mindset or higher self-awareness factoring into what he's doing. He's not really changing their circumstances, and he's not helping them to do that themselves, right? There's no education being provided. There's no job being provided. There's no way to lift themselves out of the poverty that they're in. So in a sense, by his giving them alms to the poor, he's really keeping them poor, in a sense. And if that's their whole existence, then they're never going to be able to get up off the ground, right? They're always going to be sitting there waiting in supplication to somebody else that can come along and help them, because there's no other way they can do it. So in terms of a society, then what do we owe one another to help elevate people? In other words, how do we want our tax dollars spent? Do we want it to elevate society so that everyone becomes a contributing member of society, and then further elevates society from there? The self-esteem that's built, all of that goes into that by someone who can take care of themselves and their family and all of that. So, and I say that way because we have really, in a sense, two opposing concepts here with the devil card and the star. So if we look then at this being the subject matter, with all ye's, are we going to draw down spirit into that whole situation and maybe do something more for these people to help them, to truly help them? With the devil card, it would suggest no. It would suggest being a slave to desire. Here you have him in the same as above, so below stance with one arm up and one arm down. Only instead of a scroll held to spirit, like in the magician card, you have a torch pointing down to form. It's almost like he's lighting the tail here, the oak leaf tail, on fire. But here you see 2 people, little horns. It's kind of cute. Chains around their necks and attached to this post here, to this ring on this post that the devil figure is perched upon. You see his wings, you see his horns, you see the inverted pentagram, which is not a symbol. It's not really a symbol of evil necessarily. I suppose it can be, it's used as it sometimes. But realistically, what this is, when you see the pentagram pointed downward, that means the focus is on ego. This way, the focus is on spirit, but this way it's on ego. So are you going to be a slave to desire? Are you going to think only about yourself? That's the question this card is asking, or that this card is asking this card. Is that what you're going to do? Are you just going to, in other words, it's like I've known people that go to events that are about that there's a charity function part of it. So there's donation, or certain proceeds will go to this nonprofit in the area or whatever. But really, they're not really there to do that. They're there to be seen. They're there to look like they're doing something positive, when in reality, they don't live their lives that way. They're very selfish people or what have you. And so it's almost like they go to them just to make themselves feel better about their own lives, maybe. I don't know. But you got to wonder, is there with the devil influence here, is that what this is about? Is he just doing something to make himself look good? Because he's not really doing anything to truly solve the problem or help them solve the problem. But then we have and see now this would be the card 15 of the major arcana. So again, that's a 6 energy, 6 numerology. But now we go to card 17, which is an 8 numerology. So strength and leadership and all of that. But here we have the star. But with the 8 numerology, it suggests it takes a little more strength to deal with hopes and wishes, doesn't it? And a higher sense of purpose. But here we have the goddess in her nude form, 1 foot in the water, 1 knee on the land. So we're combining both the water element and the earth element here. We see mountains in the background. We see some things growing here. We see the very large star here, which it equates 10, and then you have the 7 others, so there's 17, even though there's not 17 there. The big, anytime you see a big one, that means the number 10. But the star is it's like when we wish upon a star. It's our hopes, it's our dreams, it's transformation, it's joy, it's optimism, it's insight, it's inspiration. So it suggests higher self involvement. So the choice is with all ye's, and to create true joy, true Laetitia in our lives. What are you going to do here? Are you going to reflect the ego's imbalance? Or are you going to give of yourself in a truly service to others way? And he's not, and I don't think he's really doing that here. I think that there's too much of a differentiation here. And I think that it probably reflects more of the devil's influence than it does the star's influence. So ego or the goddess, that's your choice, right? And I think with the devil card, I think you're really chained to desire. You're chained to the ego. You're not ever going to move out of. It's a service to self. It's the classic service to self, service to others issue here. And with the star, you're really talking about more of a service to others, because it's not just your own hopes and wishes. It's the greater hopes and wishes that we have, and the transformation we want, and the joy and the optimism. In a sense, it's dreams made manifest. Both in terms of the water element, or our emotions and our compassion and our true understanding for the greater situation, and then applying that to physical reality. That's why you see her pouring both into the water and onto the earth. She's going to nourish the waters of life, the waters of creation, the waters of hope, the waters of understanding. And she's going to take that same water and she's going to transform the earth with it, transform our physical reality, our physical perceptions, how we see these sorts of things. And so then you would see these coins in balance, and it wouldn't simply be about money here, so that he feels better about himself. If you saw him come by and he's lifting, he's literally has his hands on them, trying to lift them up to standing, and maybe you would see a factory in the background or some kind of, shops in the background. He could have come out and said, hey, I have work for you. That would truly be transformative, right? As opposed to just simply giving him a few coins to get him through the day, or to get him one meal, if it even does that. Because maybe they don't even have any homes to go to, you see. So there's no real security by what he's doing. So you have to ask yourself, how am I, and it doesn't mean that you're going to go out and you're going to do this for people. That's not, I don't think, what the true message of this is. What this is, I think, is, where do you derive your sense of self? Is it from higher self-awareness, or is it from the ego's presence? Are you simply responding to things in a minimalist way? Or are you engaging with, higher awareness and to understand the bigger picture of things? It's like when politicians will complain about this and that, but then when they have a chance to vote on a bill that can change it, they vote no. And then they blame, the current president or whatever, but they voted no. And they say, oh, he or she's not doing anything. Well, yeah, they were, but you did whatever you could to make it not happen. So what do you want? So it's really the drama that they want. It's really this that they want. They don't want any real change to happen. They just want to be able to do this and convince everybody else that they're right, and that nothing is happening when all kinds of things are happening, to benefit the country, basically. They have, I just think that they have, but with the star see, if this was done differently, then these people would come away with having some hope, instead of feeling like, I'm here, this is where I live, I will never live anyplace else. So I don't know. I think it's a positive reading, in that it gets you to start thinking about higher self-awareness. But other than that, it's like, okay, a little more of the struggle that we have while we're in these bodies here. When we're living these lives that we live, however long they are, however many times we come back here, are we revisiting these same kinds of issues? It seems like we are. But during this time, there's so much deception going on, that it tells me that the more you get that, it's like the truth is really about to come out. It's one of those moments. You'll get people that will yell and scream when somebody says something that's true. You might get pushback because of it, and you may get people making a whole lot of noise and trying to distract from the real thing, that you said something that was true, that sort of cast them in a bad light, maybe, or alerted people to something that was going on that shouldn't be, or something like that. And so anytime you have somebody who is like a whistleblower, for example, you'll have these people that are about to be in trouble for what they're doing. They'll go and they'll try to discredit that person. They'll yell and scream. They'll attack them. They'll be vicious, whatever. And they try to make it seem like the person's a liar and all of that. We see that happening. We've been seeing that happening with our politicians and stuff for the last few years, where someone will say, well, no, I was there. I know what happened, and I have proof, and they'll just annihilate the person, and to try to discredit what they're saying, when in fact what they're telling people is true. So I think we see a lot of that now, and it's unfortunate, but it's playing out before everyone's eyes, so that we understand the game that's being played, and we can reject it out of hand and just say, no, let's stay focused on the truth. Let's find out if what they're saying is actually real. If it is, then if you've done something, then you need to be responsible for that. And that sort of dynamic, I think, is growing. But as to but I think it all comes down to, are you going to be service to self, which reflects the devil card, or are you going to be service to others, which reflects the star? And it's something, it's a decision that we can make every single day, and hopefully we don't have to do it. We just decide it, and there it is. But I think we're given that opportunity with every situation we encounter. How are we going to see it? Are we going to see it in a reactive way? Are we going to minimize the issue itself? Or are we going to actually look at something from a broader perspective, from a higher perspective, and understand, try to understand, well, how did that person get to where they are? Is this something that is truly by their own hand, or did circumstances do that for them? What would happen if something were to happen that could raise people up in a way that they were no longer on the ground holding their hands out? What if we could do that? And collectively, society-wise, what would that look like? Or even if it was just within your communities, what would happen? What kinds of changes would you see? Especially in terms of interactions between people. Because I think a lot of this has to do with how we regard others. Are we truly regarding them with compassion and love and empathy, or and with a mindset of, okay, well, how do we solve the problem? Or are we just willing to look the other way as we walk on by, and it's like they're not even there? And how many people feel like they're not there? That their needs are not being considered. You hear a lot of it now with the masks coming off. The COVID thing isn't over with yet. So the rest of the people who have compromised immune systems, who literally are in their homes because they can't be anywhere else. Some people, their immune systems are so bad that they can't even get a vaccination for this. And so I know there's one gal on Twitter that I follow that talks about her situation, and that's her situation. She can't get a vaccination, let alone 3, and she can't leave her home. She has to rely on family to come and bring her food, and even going to the mailbox is risky, because even with a mask on, she risks. Her immune system is that compromised. And so she has to have neighbors bring her mail and leave it on the porch there for a little while till she can come out and get it. So there's people that are disabled, kids that are disabled, that can't participate in school in the same way now that school is starting to come back. They can't do it, and so we need to be looking at this whole situation instead of just part of it. And so again, is it about the needs of the specific individual who's irritated at having to wear a mask out and about, or are we really looking at the collective need of everyone within this? Because there's lots of different situations there. And can we at least be compassionate enough to want to protect them as well? You see, that's I think what I take away from a lot of things she says when she writes about it. And but it gives a different perspective on how someone is coping and trying to cope through something that has so dramatically affected our world, and it still is. We've got another variant that's here, and we're just going to have to see how that manifests, and how many people get sick from it. So, maybe it won't be as bad, and maybe we'll start to work through it, but we have to be prepared for the possibility we won't. So anyhow, again, is it the devil or the star? I don't know. We'll see. Anyway, thanks for watching. And if you haven't clicked subscribe yet, I'd love you to do that and come back. I do this on Mondays and Thursdays. And so come back again on Thursday for another edition of As Above, So Below. And have a wonderful week, and be good to yourself, be good to one another, and blessed be.